I've heard of many terrible reasons why game developers have sabotaged and torpedoed their own games, but this one really takes the biscuit, because a Call of Duty developer was asked about why we don't get Caldera and Verdansk on some kind of map rotation. And we got this as the reply.
Yeah, so we want that.
Yeah.
We all want that. So there's a technical problem. The install and reinstall sizes. It's insane, right?
Because from everything he said, the only technical problem that seems to be standing in the way is them. They could do it. They could easily just have the second map in a rotation. They simply just don't want to do it. That's not a technical hurdle. That's your desire. That's your wish. That's your fault. They do say that downloading Verdansk would be essentially like downloading the game all over again. But to me, I'm like, well, okay.
If we pulled out, Caldera and said, okay, we're going to drop in Verdansk, I mean, this could be like essentially re-downloading the.
I know a lot of people
size
complain about
Warzone.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, they do say they have statistics which would make it a problem from their perspective.
And every time we've done that, we lose players because it's just like really. You're kind of like, I don't want to re-download this, uninstall.
And what do you think is happening having Caldera as your only map? Because I will never play Caldera. I think it's awful. I think it's terribly designed, it's big, open, and boring. If it wasn't for Rebirth, I would have the game uninstalled now. That wouldn't be the case if Verdansk was available. This isn't a zero-sum game. If we have bigger download sizes, some people will leave, because people are leaving anyway, as your game gets stagnant just through sheer repetition of the same map. Even if they like Caldera, they'll still want variety. And it's not like this is a zero-sum game either. I'm never going to play Caldera. I'd quite happily uninstall that and reinstall Verdansk again. But then you have their issue of, oh, there's so many playlists on the screen, people will get confused because apparently we can't have server browsers anymore like a good game. So all we have is knock-on effect after knock-on effect because a game developer is determined to tell us how we should play rather than providing us all of the tools and then just allowing us to choose what we find most fun. And I can understand their argument that, yes, there are some consoles which have very small hard drives, and therefore they couldn't fit it all on. Well, okay. But I'm on PC. I can just buy another hard drive. You could expand that thing to a terabyte. If I wanted it on a hard drive, I'd still make it fit. I don't know why everyone needs to be punished just because some people might struggle to fit that on a hard drive. It doesn't make any sense. Because if you use that argument for everything, PC wouldn't even have different resolutions in a FOV slider. Although I've heard that one of the reasons that they're actually not putting FOV slider on the next-gen consoles is because of the previous consoles, so maybe they are unfortunately using that weird argument for everything. Now, before this issue, I'd kind of assumed that the developers weren't putting Verdansk in due to some form of ego, because I've heard other developers talk like this in the past, where they basically said that because we put so much effort and energy into making the content, we actually want the players to play it, and so we're going to make them. Because that's an argument that World of Warships actually made for aircraft carriers, which honestly destroy the entire game. And I could understand it. It was a new map. You wanted to give it time to breathe, let players get used to it, so that people like me wouldn't make a first decision on it and then never play it again. We could go back, give it a few more tries, get used to it. It's just in my case, I've determined that even when I'm used to it, I still despise the thing, and I'm never going to play it, no matter how long it's up there. So to find out that the reason I can't play Verdansk is simply because somebody somewhere doesn't want to leave their computer on overnight while it downloads, absolutely blows my mind. I only really got back into COD with Modern Warfare, and something that has annoyed me ever since I did is this weird attitude that the developers have that they know best how I should play the game. Playlists will come and go, map rotations, and I may come and play something and like it, and then it gets removed the next week, and suddenly I can't play it, when that might be the only thing I enjoy about the game. If I enjoy 2 maps and they're in a map rotation, I'm going to play the game a lot for that week, and then you take it away, and I'm not going to play the game. When I would, if I could choose what I wanted to play. I don't know why Call of Duty and the game developers find player choice such an abomination, such an abhorrent idea to them, but it would vastly improve your game if you actually let players be in the driving seat of how they want to play. This same interview talked about how there were too many playlists on the screen and players would get confused, and I'm like, okay, get rid of them then. Come back with an actual server browser, like you used to have. Enable players to choose what maps they want to play, what modes they want to play. You'll increase player attention, because they're actually having fun. And this isn't a new or unusual idea, this is how all FPS used to be. This is how COD used to be. And for some reason, they've lost their way and ended up in a place where now, even having a second map is far too complicated for their player base. I don't know why you think that players are idiots that can't possibly understand more than one choice at a time. But for some reason, this is where we're in, where people get limited to only playing an absolutely terribly designed map, simply because the game developers think people don't know how to leave their console on overnight. And I don't find your excuse of, well, last time we did it, we lost some players, as a very good excuse, when you must understand that you're losing players simply through lack of map variety. All in all, I have no idea how a situation like this even comes to pass within a game studio. When you actually find out their genuine reasons for doing something, it's kind of mind-blowing. And I have to question how on earth a games developer this big becomes so out of touch with the actual people playing their game that they even think that this is a good reason why. And that's kind of my point. Rather than arbitrarily deciding for players whether they want to download the next map or not, why don't you ask them and give them the opportunity to decide for themselves? Because until that point, it turns out that the absolute state of Caldera can be rested solely at the doorstep of the developers themselves. But let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Like the video if you like the video, subscribe, more videos like this in the future, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.